Good morning. Today I'll be teaching you how to replace a clutch on a Whirlpool Extra Care system washer. Now, they say you need to remove the shroud and all that, and it's all bull crap. You can actually tilt this thing up and remove the whole assembly itself. It's pretty easy. First you'd have to remove the straps off this pump right here. There's 2 straps. Then there's 2 straps on the motor that keep the motor on. We remove those. See, there's all the straps. And then there's 3 bolts that hold the gearbox assembly on with the clutch. Once you remove those, all you need to do is remove 1 screw out of the mixer assembly, this agitator assembly, and then this just pulls right out once you unscrew that 1 bolt, which this goes on top of here, like so. Yeah. It's pretty easy to take out. There's just 1 screw. You're gonna need a 12mm socket for that. Yeah, 12mm socket. And then you're gonna need a 13mm socket for the bolts on the transmission. I've had issues with this washer before. Earlier, I had it not draining, and what happened is this sock got sucked into this pump and actually was inside the pump. So this is a newly used pump from a different washer I had of the same type that I swapped out. That's why I was keep old parts. This right here is your brake assembly. I'm going to be replacing that this part right here. It's still good. It's not broken, so I'll probably keep it. It is old, and the new assembly actually came with a new one, so swap those out. I cleaned everything up. It was pretty dirty. While you're here, you want to check the pads on here for your braking assembly. Make sure they're still thick. Which these are still pretty good. Yeah. The issue was this time was the same problem that I had, was the pads went out. And this is a new pad, brand new, a universal pad. Universal my butt. As you can see, it's all worn down near the edges. I had to form this to fit it a little bit, and it was way too tight. So I decided this time to just get the whole assembly, so I wouldn't get ones too tight. It was almost the same price. This was $9 by itself, and the brand new assembly was like $12. So screw that. Just get the whole assembly. It comes with 2 different types of springs. There's a blue one, and then there's a they call it black, but it looks like it's dark blue. This gives it the correct tension for the type of washer. So it comes with directions on how to determine which washer gets which spring. So follow those directions. They're pretty simple. The current one that I'm doing now takes the light blue screen, which you can compare it to your old spring as well. Which, here's my old spring, it's green, but the thickness of it is approximately the same. Whereas the other thinner spring is a lot longer and a thinner gauge wire. So easy peasy. So what you'll need to do to remove the old clutch is you gotta first remove this washer. Here, let me get some gloves on. Show you real quick. Alright. My gloves are on. It's really hard doing this when no one here but yourself. Alright. There's a washer here, which I greased up already. This is like for contact. And then you got this retaining clip here that you can remove with a flathead screwdriver. It's pretty easy. And then you have this clip underneath here, which holds in place. Which you put it in like that on the inner portion of it, and it actually flares out. There's like a little gear that this sits on, or a coupler, not a gear, but it flares the coupler out so it actually holds this clutch assembly in place. And you remove this with a flathead screwdriver as well by popping up the ring on this side right here, and then it pops out. I'm not going to show you because it's difficult to do it. I don't have a tripod, but you get the gist. Once you pop this out, you can take the whole assembly out. This comes already put together. If it's got the right spring, then you don't need to remove this. You can put it back. You can just install it with the new washer rubber, or I think it's nylon spacer that sits up against and helps flare out once you install the retaining clip. To reinstall it, you just reverse order, put it back in this ring right here. It's a little bit difficult to get in, but you can get in. You just have to push down a little at a time, starting with the farthest side. So you start over here, push down with a flathead screwdriver. As you're going around, it'll snap into place. Once you do that, you slide this whole assembly will be kind of locked in place. Then you install this retaining clip right here. I'm assuming that this is so the assembly can't raise up past a certain point, because without this clip, this whole assembly will actually move up about almost an inch. And so this is probably to keep it from doing that. Then you have this washer that comes down. I lubricated everything because everything was all dried out. It had grease on it, but it's pretty dry. And this will actually kind of lock in place as well. It only rotates a little bit. And then the hardest part of this is putting this assembly back in. You have to actually, when you put the assembly back in, you have to make sure that this portion right here actually aligns and hits the side. You don't want to like install it on top of it, or well, you can install it behind it, but the next time you start it, it'll actually rotate around and smack it, which is fine. That's what it does to stop. But you don't want to install it on top of the spring, because then it won't be able to do its job. And while you're sliding this back in, this whole assembly back in, and pushing up, it's not going to want to go in. And that's because the brake. You have to release the brake while you're pushing up on the assembly, which this is the most difficult part of putting it back in. And the way you release the brake is this portion right here. As you twist and push up, see how it slid up? You want it all the way up when you install the other assembly. Now it's going to want to slide back down, which is the difficult part of this. It's going to try to slide back. See how I didn't even really touch it, it just slid back down. It's going to want to slide back down while you're trying to install this. And that's the most difficult part of this. As long as you keep upward, an upward force as you're installing this, after you spin this with upward force, you got to be kind of quick about it. Push up, it'll stay there a little bit, just don't move it, and make sure that this is not in contact with this. Push up, you can get it up in place, put at least one of these bolts in place, and then the other two in place, and then start torquing it down. Right now I'm going to remove this right here, And maybe I'll do another video and add it to this on how to do this assembly. But I apologize for not having a tripod to show you, because, well, I don't do videos like this. I only do videos where people say you can't really do it, it's too hard, or I try to find easier ways to do stuff, because that's just the way I am. Yeah, everybody shows you taking the shroud off of this. You just need to tilt it back. Tilt it back, you can remove the whole assembly all at once. You don't have to take all this stuff off and spend hours doing this. This only takes me maybe about a half an hour to switch it out. You just gotta be careful when you reverse everything, put everything back in the right place, and don't get that motor wet. Because if you have a leak or anything, which I did earlier when I removed this pump, it drenched the motor. And so I had to wait for the motor to dry out and make sure you spray it down with some anti-corrosion compound and all that because of the water. It still works. I still have a backup one too that I got from the last washer that I bought. But these are great. These are great motors. There's actually a video online that you can actually turn one of these motors into a what do you call it? It rotates. What the hell do you call it? I'm having a brain fart. It's you know, you can make metal parts. The guy actually does like some wood whittling on it, and while it's stuck to end and it rotates. It sucks I can't remember the tool right now. It's the what the hell is it called? I used to use one in school too. I want to say lathe, but is it a lathe? Yeah, I think it's a lathe. Which is pretty cool. A pretty cheap way of doing it. I would rather just buy one at a store, but if you're ever wanting to not throw stuff away, you can make a lathe out of that. I'm going to clean this up some more, maybe put some wire wrap to protect the wires a little bit more. I'm very meticulous when it comes to my wiring, because I used to be a aviation electrician, so now I'm an engineer, which kind of embarrassing that I couldn't remember what that was used for. But anyways, I'll see. Maybe I'll make another video. I don't know. This seems pretty simple. There's just one retaining clip there and a washer, and you just reverse order, put the new part on, and then put the clip back on. It's just not rocket science. Just don't let everything fall out. You gotta because this is, like I said, this is gonna want to fall out. So what I'll do is, if you're gonna replace this, pull down on it first, so it's not gonna want to slide all the way out. Because now it's just a little bit loose. You just pop this ring off. Maybe I could just do it right now. I don't know if I could do it with one hand. Might be able to do it. There we go, one-handed. Pop the ring off. Everything's gonna want to fall. Just let the screwdriver fall in. Don't let this fall. Keep this right where it's at. Keep that there. And let me go. I gotta set this down now and grab the other one, put it up real quick. Sorry again. Let's see. See, this is the new one. I just slid it on over the. You don't want all that stuff to fall out. Like I said, keep that stuff in place. So it's kind of good that I showed you what not to do. Now I'm gonna put the clip back in place. real quick. This time I'm gonna use both hands because definitely can't do this part with one hand. Because it's pretty stiff. Retaining clip. Oh, there we go. There we go. See? Snap it right in place. Just don't let all this stuff behind it fall out. Because if you do, you start having a big problem with this. Because then the clutch can actually snap loose. And yeah, I had that happen last time. It was a pain in the ass. But rotate, push up. Rotate, push up. It's up out of the way. Now I can install this. Which I'm not going to show you because I'm going to need both hands to do this. But you get the gist. I might make another video slowly putting them back together, but I don't have a tripod for this. I mean, while you're replacing this, check this. I forgot to tell everybody this. Check these right here, because you can have cracks on this coupler right here. And this is a common failure part that will make it not spin as well. This one's semi-new, I think. It looks kind of new. I didn't replace it. But the place we bought it from, because this is used. I buy used stuff, so used stuff, you save thousands of dollars on something that's still pretty good. I mean, yeah, that looks probably new. Well, maybe not new. Newer. There's no cracks. You want to make sure there's no cracks right here. Any of these are broken off. I've actually had these break in half. They normally snap around the portion that meets contact with the metal part. Slide it back on, and then when you mount this transmission on, you're going to want to align your motor coupler portion up with it. And in order for you to line it up, you just rotate it until you slide it in, and then this portion meets up here. And then you just slide the clips on. See, this clip goes on up here. This goes to the upper motor, clips on the top of the motor. And then you have one that goes down here, clips on the bottom, holds the whole motor assembly in. What you want to do is, while you're installing this, to make it easy, is you put this top one in first, right? Like this. And then you tilt the motor up. And then this bend, you can slide it over the top portion. Then you let the weight of the motor, let it tighten the band. And this band will actually hold it in place. It'll actually hold the whole motor in place. And then you can fit the bottom one on. You slide the bottom one on, and then you hit the bottom one a little bit. You hit it and it'll clip it in place. And then you just do the same thing with the pump, because the pump has two clips too. Upper clip first. Same order as this. Upper clip first. Yeah, align it in these keys on the motor. This will align with the shaft on the motor. And yeah, just upper clip, bottom clip. Once those are clipped in place, and this transmission is bolted up in place, which is the first thing you do, which is the first thing I'm going to do right now. Then you do a test run after you clip the cable back in. And I would do it with the washer open, just to make sure it actually spins. And then to really test it, you put in a heavy load, like a load to the top, to make sure your clutch is actually engaging correctly. Now this ring is supposed to be really stiff. It's supposed to be hard to move, which I can't even move this one. The other one I couldn't move at all either. But there was a difference. Like this one, I don't even think the washer can move. When the washer actually hits this spring, it's supposed to slide it a little bit. This ring is supposed to slide a little bit inside this assembly until it actually engages. When the spring actually becomes taut again after being impacted, it'll actually engage and start spinning the washer, the actual drum. This one was way too tight. It wasn't allowing for any spin at all, which you can tell, like, it totally ate that up. This is only like 2 weeks old. My wife was kind of upset that the washer isn't working after I fixed it, and I knew exactly what had failed. Garbage part that I bought online, which I'll post the supplier if you want. If anyone wants to know the supplier and who not to buy it from, I'll let you know. Just leave a comment at the bottom, and I'll post a link. Well, maybe I shouldn't post a link. I'll post the product not to buy for this washer. This may work for other washers, but this was way too big for this unit. Even though they advertised it fitting this unit, this did not fit this unit. This ring was way too large. I had to actually bend the end tabs and try to make it fit, and I made it fit to no avail though, because now I'm at the same point of replacing something that I just replaced 2 weeks ago, and my laundry's all piled up because of it. I'm gonna get this in, and my wife will be happy. All right, leave a comment if you like the video. If you don't, like I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't have a tripod. All right, thank you.